Okay, so I'm just gonna go off the cuff and just speak my mind about this. Um, what am I going to create with, my time that I have? I want, there's in this sort of manosphere, you have a lot of religious examples of Nick Fuentes, being heavily Christian. You have, Sneeko being Muslim, Andrew Tate being Muslim. And essentially, you have like the big religious powerhouses in the streaming space, except for one. You don't have, and technically, Buddhism isn't a religion, it's a philosophy. But I feel like Buddhism needs to get its tentacles in there as a philosophical path that leads you to enlightenment. I feel like it is so necessary to essentially have this talked about in the same space, as like fixtures for guiding's one life. So I'm gonna use a bunch of streaming. I'm gonna use streaming to essentially pivot into that, alongside with sharing my specific Buddhist path, which is Yeshe Cholwa. Um, not going too much into it here, but essentially I'll be like the first one to really talk about the nuance and specificities within crazy wisdom in recorded history. Chogyam Trungpa introduced it, but he didn't really delve into it for a lot of reasons. Um, Two, I want to build. I'm trying to be a in a lot of ways I'm a mystic, and I want to share my training with and my earnest diligence, sort of like a Shaolin monk kind of vibe, and I kind of want to share that as well along the path. Um, and so streaming with Annika, boom, that's tier one. Now, while I was chilling, while I was there trying to, meet up and essentially just touch base with Annika, um, I, you know, I know people in the crypto space that, let's just say they have a lot of pull, or at least alleged pull. Okay. And I was having a conversation with them, and they're like, dude, do you want, how quickly do you want this to happen? Like I could really just turn this on and get a bunch of investors, get a lot of, traction with it within the news outlets, etc., within crypto space, blah blah blah, and essentially accelerate the growth. And in front of the homeless shelter I was staying at while I was visiting Annika, while I was on the phone, he's basically saying, there's two roads you can go down. He's like the fast way or the long way, which is like, a bunch of rinky dink. No one has an idea of where this really goes, and you kind of just fuck off for a bit. And right in front of the homeless shelter, there was this road that was unbuilt, and I was staring at while I was talking to him. And while this was happening, I just had the clarity that this is what I needed to do. Is like, the slow way sometimes is the best way. Um, and yeah, even though it's unbuilt, it's still what I want to do. Even though it's rink-a-dink, even though there might be homeless people camping on it, it's still what I want to do. Okay, so I'm transitioning my streaming career into a sort of manosphere influence of spiritual mysticism to potentiate the, essentially becoming like a professor or a teacher in Buddhism and in Chinese internal medicine. Um, Now, I have ways to gain this traction. Now, how, and I kind of don't want to leak specifically what it is, but, it will definitely get the attention of Andrew Tate uh, and his brother. And this kind of goes into the pivot that I'm trying to make. Andrew Tate has this school called, or the real world, but he also has a deep, ingrained, appreciation for monk internal, like, he has this comic book called Wu Dan, the School of Wu Dan, and I think I want to be the teacher or the headmaster for the School of Wu Dan. Um, and I don't think that there is anyone else better suited than me to really fill in these shoes. Um, yeah. And this goes into like a later goal that I have around like 40 is, just like going off into a mountain with like a bunch of these monks and just training for doing this dance for immortality, where it's just in a late stage advanced, I don't know, there was no name for it, but it's essentially just chi cultivation mixed with like the dancing with the eternal flow of reality, and sort of using that energy cultivated to then transmute it into the enlightenment and the potentiation for all sentient beings. And we do that for eternity. That's kind of the deal. um yeah, Damo Mitchell is a big part of it. I don't know what the future has in store for us, but um the this kind of touches on the reason why I'm even, why do I feel the need to start my own school instead of building with a school that's already well established, that's already well ingrained as Lotus Negong. The truth is that I don't have enough clout, and I'm too edgy and dangerous for um and I haven't been time tested. That's kind of the thing. Essentially, all of these people that have influence and notoriety and have like this anti-hero quality, and are looked at to seen as evil, at the core, they're people who've been time tested through the social magnifying glass, and have sort of condensed and sort of been purified to be a sort of beacon for truth and trust, and for that which is good. And I haven't gone through that process. Essentially, I'm not famous enough to let my nuts hang in the way that I want to. And honestly, even skillful enough, that's kind of something I want to touch in on. Even skillful enough, to do that, and not, you know, I have the personality type to sort of, how do I say it? You know, do the 10-year, learn essentially build trust within the system that he has, but at a cost of, who I am as an individual. And I feel like I can't move forward self-sacrificing. Instead of standing next to Damo Mitchell, I should, there's enough, there's enough room, there's enough space for me to cut my own path and stand by Damo Mitchell through my own cultivation. Um, Even if it takes longer, it will be worth it. And yeah, essentially, Damo Mitchell is a Chinese internal arts, and he's it's just a bit of a background. He's one of the best. I'm certain of it. Like, he's one of the best in terms of who's publicly teaching um, online, and no one speaks like him in terms of his explanations. No one has like this ingrained, direct phenomenological experience and can paint, you know, this sort of canvas with a bunch of different linguistical texturizations that can formulate for your own psyche. It's just like, you know, and I respect that, and I see that that's what he's built. And he has like a very classical principle kind of school, and I don't want to cross hairs and essentially tread on him and make him seem untrustworthy by allowing me to say unhinged shit and being next to him. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to put that burden on him. So I'd rather go through the social cauterizing and then come back, with my practice already inlaid, you know, and then touch a base. Yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit of my plan. Manosphere, workout guy, yoga guy, spiritual guru guy, all, interwoven with like interesting dynamics of like, the chaos that's in my life, and the unfurling of the degeneracy within my life, and how that is balanced with how do I say, monkly, quote 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 mark, practices. And yeah, fucking enlightenment, immortality, and fucking God, bro. Peace, love, and light. Truth, baby. Hallelujah.